And our next signing that we are going to be talking about for Idaho is a linebacker, Cale Allen. He played at Olympia High School and obviously in Olympia, Washington. He is 6'1", 220 pounds, and with the offer that he has announced, he is a walk-on at Idaho. So I think from the tape that I've watched so far of Cale, I think he is a. How did Idaho get him as a walk-on? And I'm grateful that he chose to come to Idaho. Patrick, what are your thoughts on Cale?
Yeah, no, me too. He was a guy that I didn't watch any tape on before. I just didn't get around to his tape. I saw his PWO and an athlete, and so I was just like, okay, well, kind of assumed he wouldn't. Typically your walk-ons aren't the most flashy guys, and so I put my time elsewhere. He jumps up the tape, man. I was really impressed. Me and Martin were sitting here before going live, just kind of like going over his tape. We're like, wait, walk on? Like, he's walk on? Dude can play, man. He plays that Mike linebacker spot, and he plays with some fiercity, man. He, I, I think one of the reasons he maybe went under recruited is he's 6'1", 220, which the weight not necessarily quite super undersized, but like typically in the Big Sky, get teams want some bigger linebackers. But to me, he looks perfectly fine. He looks like he'll do fine physically. He's got to get stronger, which of course you do, but like quickness wise and sniffing out the run wise, he looks really good. He plays very gap sound and patient, which is something I appreciate. Being an Eastern fan, being gap sound is something that Eastern really struggles with. So, I mean, he looks like a guy that's not gonna over pursue and miss a big play. A big example of that is earlier in the tape when the other team ran a reverse on him, and he was just sitting there writing his responsibility of a gap and made a big tackle for like an 8-yard loss. Overall, just he looks really solid. Like he looks like a guy that could probably not with Jackson and Extree, but he looks like a guy that if he rotated in, I wouldn't be scared to have him there. Like he looks solid against the run. I think physically is just going to be his one thing, like getting stronger, getting a little bigger to deal with off Division I offensive line.
Oh yeah, I agree with you on that, Patrick. And I think another thing that I think you mentioned in some other recruits that we've had, so we've talked about so far is like, yes, he's a walk on, but you also want to have those depth guys because people are, like you said in the past, are gonna get hurt. And kind of just watching his tape, it's like I'm not. If he was to come in and play, I would not be worried or concerned about him playing. Now we're going to see him as a red true freshman. Maybe not. Maybe he plays and maybe he shows out in fall camp like Jack Lane did and earned the second string quarterback position as a true freshman preferred walk-on. Maybe he earns playing time in the new defensive coordinator's defensive scheme, whoever that may be.
Yeah, no, he to me he looks like one of the higher quality walk-ons I've seen out of this class, probably the highest in my opinion. Just looking at the tape, like he made some plays offensively too, man. Like he just freaking. Looking over some of his senior film, Martin had the junior film playing his junior year, but looking at some of the senior film, like a lot of it, he played quarterback, and they ran a lot of read option stuff where he'd keep it, and there's one play where he just he hurdles a defender and then takes it 20 yards to the house, and it's just big time plays. Like he looks perfectly athletic to me. He probably doesn't have the top end speed of a defensive back or anything, but he looks solid.
Oh yeah, and kind of the tape we're watching right now, it is him kind of running with the ball on offense. But the dude,
it's this play, I believe.
He's athletic. And maybe speaking of special teams, we see kind of more of with the hurdling of players. He can hurdle over people on field goals and get the blocks on PATs and field goals on special teams. I know we're kind of projecting a little bit, but if he was offered by Idaho as a full scholarship, I wouldn't. If he didn't mention the preferred walk on in his offer tweet that we originally saw, I would not bat an eye about giving him a scholarship. Yeah, from what we've watched and what we've learned over the past 10 minutes of research that Patrick and I have done, we're both love Cale. Allen.
Yeah. And I think part of why he maybe didn't get recruited as hard is his high school team wasn't great, and they struggled defensively as a unit. They played a pretty tough league over there on the west side of Washington, but I'm impressed, man. I think he'll be solid. I think he'll be a good player. Maybe he is a guy that will earn a scholarship later in his career. Martin, you're muted.
Been almost 2. Have been 5 hours all day, and it's the first time it happened. I am proud of myself.
Great.
I am proud of myself that it was only the first one. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did get offered later on. If he got another offer, got that scholarship by Idaho later on in his Vandal career. I'm just excited for what I'm excited for to have him on campus and whoever the defense coordinator's defense is going to be.
Yeah, I love inside linebackers, so I always get real excited when I see a solid inside linebacker.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we are going to wrap things up, and we are going to head on to our last couple of signings that we have so far. Go Vandals.
Go Vandals.